Suns, Celtics. Phoenix on a 5-game winning streak. Boston trying to repeat as champions. The perfect preliminary fight to Stephen A. and LeBron. Psychos and sickos unite for a massive edition of the PHNX Suns pregame show. Of course, brought to you by our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. It's the usual crew for home games. I'm Eric, that's Steven, Noah behind the Mac, making all the magic happen. Gerald boots on the ground at PHNX Arena as the Phoenix Suns put their 4-game win streak to the test against the elite of the elite, the reigning NBA champion Boston Celtics. Steven, it feels good to have Suns basketball mean something again.
It does. They have their work cut off for them tonight, though, needless to say. Even if it is somewhat of a shell of the Celtics team that's healthy, they still have plenty of ways to put pressure on the Suns. They'll have to be sharp again in this one to just give themselves a puncher's chance in closing time and clutch time. Mm-hmm. And I think if they get there, they can make some things happen.
Well, and that's going to be the test, right? You look at the injury report, which let's just dive into right now because that is the big news, as Jason Tatum has been ruled out for this game. Of course, Xavier Tillman also out. Huge news. Bradley Beal, really the only one fully on the injury report for the Suns. 2 two-way players, Ty and Jalen Bridges also out. But
hey, don't disrespect my Spartan dog, Xavier Tillman, like that.
I'm not trying to disrespect
him.
NBA
champion Xavier Tillman.
It's true, and it's the NBA champion Boston Celtics, and Jason Tatum is out, but Steven, they're the champions for a reason. This team is well coached. They are deep. They have star talent out the wazoo. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown. Where would you start for a Jason Tatum-less Boston team?
Derek White. I know some people are thinking Jaylen Brown. Derek White steps up in usage and playmaking responsibilities. Honestly, a lot of times he closes games for this team. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum sometimes are either screening for Derek White or spaced to some other pocket of the court, and Derek White is running the show. Talk about an embarrassment of riches. You can rely on your third, fourth, sometimes fifth best player to spearhead your attack on offense and closing lineups. Like, what kind of joke is that?
It's an embarrassment of riches is a great way to put it. Arton with a $4.99 super chat says, I may be sick, but I'm definitely not sick of this team recently. Thumbs up. Well, we hope you feel better, and we hope that this game is like a nice warm bowl of Mama's chicken noodle soup, making you feel so much better. Don't give me that face, Noah. That was good.
I was just making sure you were going in the right direction.
Yeah, I was going in the right direction. But, Steven, let's jump right into your keys for the game. How do the Suns get in the right direction? How do they get number 5 in a row?
Well, we're going to be starting first looking at specifically on the boards. I think the rebounds are going to be extremely important for them in this game. You have to be able to close possessions defensively with grabbing your boards and being able to kind of stamp things. In addition to that, that's not included in key one, but it's pertinent to it, especially with Tatum out. Sharp with your switches, and obviously, like I just got done speaking to, winning on the boards. You got to get that job done. You have to put pressure on the Celtics, because if you don't take something away from them, if you're not active with your defense, bombs away from deep. They have 5 different players that can knock down 5 or more threes in the game, and it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody based off of the scouting report. Number 2, I already spoke to it. Bombs away. They're bombs away, and the Suns are very much bombs away. The Suns are currently leading the NBA in percentage and points per game from catch and shoot 3-point opportunities. The Celtics are like 3rd. It's them, the Celtics, and the Bulls that are pretty much spearheading that attack this season, with Cleveland 4th in that group. So you have to be able to neutralize them by playing defense to a level with your switching to take away some of those threes, but you also have to generate those same shots and knock them down as well on your end. And then the last big one, in tandem with the three-point shots, the catch and shoot threes in particular, move the basketball. How well are they going to balance out mismatch hunting versus trying to get the shots for the role players to kind of get the looks that they need to keep the offense afloat as well?
We do have Mike Budenholzer speaking on defending the three-point attack. But before we get that, I'm such a rude host. I'm sorry. I'm so excited for this game. Thank you to everybody, the most important people here, the psychos and sickos, for tuning in for a pregame edition, a little programming note. We are doing a watch-along for this game, so watch it with us. We'll be on a slight delay, so you might have to pause your game or whatever, but we are going to be watching together, all right here on PHNX Sports on a separate stream. We'll end this pregame slightly early, and then we're going to hop over to that one, watch the game together, and then, of course, we've got the postgame show, Suns Celtics postgame, all right here on PHNX Sports. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button while you're here. You mentioned the Celtics love to shoot those threes, maybe more than any team in NBA history. Here's what Coach Bud had to say on defending that three-point barrage.
Yeah, I mean, you really gotta be able to keep them in front of you, try and take away, whether it's Brown or Tatum or really all their guys' ability to drive it, get to the paint, and spray it out for threes. They're very good in the pick and roll game. Using different combinations, different guys. Maybe not as unique as it used to be, but the different combos of pick and rolls, you got to be ready to guard them all. They're five space the court. They basically have five out, and five spacing for 48 minutes. So they're getting three balls from the five spot. So all those things, I think are part of the challenge to trying to limit their threes.
So many different lineup combinations where they have five players on the court that can all dribble, pass, and shoot, and all not be negatives on the defensive end as well, whether that be defending to scheme, defending individually, or being able to do both of those things in tandem. That's a bevy of dynamic to have in your rotation, to where Joe Mazzulla he has his pick of the litter. I can just close my eyes and point at one of the players on the bench, and I know that someone's going to come in and bring a positive impact. Someone's going to come in and knock down threes. They're going to play defense the way that they need to. That's a lot, and the Suns are going to need to, in their own version of it, get that same type of impact on both ends of the court from all of their role players, in addition to, obviously, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant knocking down their three-point opportunities as well.
Yeah, did Bud hit the spot today? He was looking nice and fresh. He was ready for the game, ready for a big game against the Celtics. In the chat, Ted says Pritchard could be a problem. I 100% agree. The Suns, the season is still the season. I know they've played differently the last four games, but have had a problem with defending shifty guards, defending a barrage of three-point shots, and Peyton Pritchard is a great mixture of those in contention for NBA Sixth Man of the Year. I mean, this is a championship team, Steven. They're deep, and you can say it over and over again. The Suns cannot sleep for a single possession tonight. You beat the Cavs. That was great. Why did you beat the Cavs? Because you were locked in from the start and you stayed locked in the whole time. Against the Bucks, you started a little bit rough. You were able to pull it back and pull off a win, but it was a close one against a worse team than Boston, even without Jason Tatum. Just because their number one player, or what some consider their number two player, if you're really high on Jaylen Brown, is out for this game, does not mean the Suns can sleep. And they know this not just because of the specific game, but also because of the standings as well. Can we take a look at those standings real quick? It is time for the push for the playoffs presented by All Pro Shade Concepts. The Suns still in that 10th seed going into tonight. They are a half a game above the Mavericks. The Suns are 35-37. The Mavericks 35-38. Sacramento continues to lose season. Sacramento and the Suns are tied, but Sacramento has the tiebreaker for the season with one game remaining. The last game of the season. That could be big, but the Sacramento Kings are sitting at 9th. Timberwolves and Clippers are still 5.5 games each ahead of the Suns, so your eyes can't really be set on that yet, even though you do have a matchup with Minnesota coming up on Friday. But the Suns still fighting, clawing, desperately searching for a play-in spot. You got the schedule. You can't sleep.
Nope, you cannot sleep. You have an opportunity, a direct opportunity to leap ahead of the Sacramento Kings. The Celtics did you a solid on Monday night, as you did yourself a solid in winning your game. Can you go and make that count for something tonight and add to this win streak and add another notch under your belt in terms of stepping in the right direction? Remains to be seen, but haven't been more primed for an opportunity like this, and no pun intended, with it being an ESPN game.
Yeah,
than
absolutely. I mean, primetime game. And when we talk about, yesterday's show, are the Phoenix Suns legitimate threats? And Fig known, Jason Tatum not playing. Are the Phoenix Suns legitimate threats in the Western Conference, right? What's been the argument this whole time with this roster? Big moments, playoff moments. They've got the players. They've got the elite of the elite to contend, right?
Yep.
They're going to find themselves in a situation where one game matters in the play-in, one game at a time. And then you're going to go against OKC, a team on the level of the Boston Celtics, of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So right now is your chance to prove to yourself mentally and to your fans that you're waking the fuck up. Like, this is real. And you can do that tonight with a win against the Celtics. And Steven, if it's an emphatic win against the Celtics like it was against the Cavaliers, we're going to be talking about this team a whole lot differently as they approach one game to 500.
Yep. And it's much less about, well, the opponent definitely matters, but it's the process steps that will have to take place for them to go and get a win against a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers. They did that already. The Boston Celtics. There's not much margin for error with this team. Defensively, they get after it as well as anybody. They put pressure on opponents in unique ways that no one else can kind of replicate, especially in regards to depth and doing that across multiple lineups. And offensively, talked about bombs away, but they have multiple players that can put pressure on the defense that most teams also can't replicate outside of big three constructs. Talked about the Derek White impact. Obviously, Jaylen Brown is who he is. Finals MVP Jaylen Brown, excuse me. And they just get the job done. They have a ton of different pieces. Porzingis can go for 30 at any given moment. We know how much of a unicorn he is. I won't speak to the starting lineup. I'll let you do that part. But there's just so many different dynamics. This is such a high-level game that we're going to be having an opportunity to watch with our supporters, and I'm looking forward to kind of just diving into the weeds on everything.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be diving into the weeds live. We are going to be watching this game on a live watch-along. I expect all of you, every single person who's in here right now for pregame, over 200 of you watching and even more watching across all platforms, highly expect every single one of you to jump right into that watch-along link right after this. Teddy with a $9.99 super chat says, wanted to save this for postgame, but I saw it and it gave me dark thoughts. Apparently, since the Beal trade, the Suns are 32-11 with just KD and Book and no PTO, man. Did you see that from Carson Breber on Twitter? Because that is my good friend who hosts the Nerd Sesh podcast. Mauricio asking for the starters. Buddy, it's the same starters that you've been seeing for your Phoenix Suns, of course, starting at point guard. Mr. Undefeated himself, Colin Gillespie at the 1, Devin Booker at the 2, Ryan Dunn at the 3, Kevin Durant at the 4, Nick Richards at the 5. Obviously, Nick was injured at the beginning of this win streak, but now it feels like this starting 5 is really going to get some chemistry, and there's no better way to test your iron against some more sharp iron.
Most definitely. This is by far the biggest test. And I think it's going to come with a lot of lessons learned, a lot of points to gauge in terms of where they really are within their offensive process. I'm really looking forward to watching how they match up with this Celtics team.
How do you think Ryan Dunn and Nick Richards in the starting lineup? Like, let's talk defensive matchups. Let's talk the chess match, right? Because Joe Mazzulla's a great coach. Mike Budenholzer has been pressing the right buttons as of late. Jason Tatum out, Bradley Beal out. Who matches up on who in the starting 5?
For the Suns or for the Celtics?
For the Suns. Who on the Suns matches up against the Celtics on defense?
I think you put Durant on Porzingis. I think you put Richards on Horford. I think Dunn goes on Jaylen Brown. And then it gets tricky. I would put Devin Booker on Drew Holiday, and then
PTSD.
Naturally Colin Gillespie on Derek White. But if I was Mike Budenholzer, that's how I think the matchups would go.
I wish you were Mike Budenholzer.
If I was Mike Budenholzer, I'm leaning fully into all of this switching and all of the reps that we can get against the Celtics team. I'm putting Nick Richards on Drew Holiday. Make him shoot, make him make plays, make him put the ball on the deck, take them out of the rhythm of their offense, go one-on-one. Force him to be a screener if you want to come and get Nick Richards, and be able to shift your defense around to where you're able to cover up for Nick so he doesn't have to get put into those actions, but also just leaning more into the reps that you're trying to work towards. If you're really going to lean into this switching thing, that's something that this Celtics team does great. I would not be surprised if Drew Holiday starts this game guarding Nick Richards on the other end. And that's because of the ways in which they can flip things and send offenses completely off script.
Well, I mean, they have two of the best defensive guards that we've seen in the last decade plus, right? Drew Holiday, one of the best defensive guards of all time. Derek White making his way into that conversation. And if he does it for a long time, I think he's in that conversation. Defensive dogs, I think Colin Gillespie is going to need to play a nearly perfect game tonight because of the fact that there's not a lot of room for error when you're going to have, I don't know if it is Al Horford on you, right? Al Horford, you might think to yourself, oh, he's old, right? You could take, no, Al Horford's, he's shuffling and sliding his feet like a 25-year-old man. Like there are no weaknesses really on either side of the ball. And that's the scary part for this team. But we've seen the Suns step up in these big moments. And if we were breaking down the Cleveland Cavaliers, not that they're exactly the same. Obviously, Garland and Mitchell are much different of a defensive backcourt than Drew and White. But there are certain strengths that you think the Suns wouldn't be able to deal with, that they wouldn't be able to match up well against. And they did, and they took advantage of it. But then let's also go to the bench, right? Inoso Iguodala, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, Tyus Jones. These are players that the Suns have needed over the last couple of games to step up in order to get wins tonight more than ever, Stephen.
Yes. They have to bring it tonight. They need the same type of performances that they got against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tyus knocking down a couple of threes. Tyus leading his team in deflections post All-Star break.
That's crazy.
Not getting nearly enough attention. I talked about him being better defensively, not necessarily guarding one-on-one, but just being active. That's one way that he's been impactful with those lineups that he's been in with multiple wings. Obviously, one of Booker or Durant and the center on the court, likely also. He's just been active with his hands. Royce O'Neal knocked down how many threes in that game against the Cavaliers?
Like 15.
He didn't and he didn't even blink in hesitation on any of the touches he got in the first quarter off of Kevin Durant. Those same type of attempts are going to be there. They have to get those type of impact moments from them on offense, but also have that defense continue to sustain at the level that it's been. And to Ric Flair in the chat, I know it sounds crazy saying Nick Richards on Drew Holiday intentionally, but I've spoken to Nick Richards from Charles Lee earlier this season and even last season, being put on players like TJ McConnell, intentionally cross-matching and sending offense off script. And you can do that when you have players like Cody Martin, players like Ryan Dunn, Royce O'Neal, that can guard up and basically guard centers in the post and do so effectively. So that's not outlandish in any capacity.
No, it's not. Also, a quick little tidbit on this starting five. Gerald, you guys know Gerald. You've heard of Gerald, right? Says this starting lineup has a plus 27.6 net rating over 4 games together so far this season, has outscored opponents by 29 points in 48 minutes. Clearly a small sample size, but effective nonetheless. Well, we've talked a lot about what they need to do, but what will they do? Let's go ahead and take a look at our score predictions for tonight's game, Suns versus Celtics. Can you tell that the tide has turned? Everybody picking the Phoenix Suns against the Boston Celtics. I am the most confident, Suns by 5. Gerald, the least confident, Suns by 2. You and Espo, Steven, both going Suns by 3.
Yeah, well, Espo's a copycat for one. We don't need to go any further on that.
This.
But also, I think that with Jason Tatum being out, that takes away the main pressure point for the Celtics on offense, especially if they get to crunch time moments. Tatum has been in such a incredible space this season. The manipulation, we talk about Devin Booker's elite playmaking. We just talked about it on yesterday's episode. You can copy and paste that to Jason Tatum. Might not necessarily be to the same extent on usage and volume, but his impact as a playmaker has been loud. And honestly disrespectful to defenses because it's just no answer for him. He's a big wing that creates all of the offense for them. So tough loss for them. I think not him not being in the lineup for them today sways things in favor of the Suns, even by the slightest bit. But they still have to go get it.
Yeah, got a couple predictions in chat. Kev says Suns by 1. Kara, Suns by 3. Ted says Suns by 11. Optical Illusion says Suns by 2. Aaron says Suns by 1. ... Question mark?
Sounds about
LOL. Right. David said Suns versus Bud. Can we do it, Sean? Yeah. Suns by 5. That's what we all think. What about our friends over at Bet365? Let's go ahead and take a look at the line. The Suns are +6 on the spread, +185 on the money line at home. So the Celtics, heavy favorites on the road, -6 on the spread, -225 on the money line.
Updated with the Tatum news? I'm curious.
Tatum's always been questionable and probable, so I would assume
he was doubtful this morning.
Yeah,
so I guess
doubtful and questionable.
Yep.
So I think that's all been taken into account. Maybe some last minute shifting, but it takes a little while for those graphics to come together. So I would say that happened right before he got ruled out. But let's look at some more graphics. Let's take a look at our pregame picks presented by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary over at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT-STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Speaking of problem gambling, let's go ahead and take a look at Espo's bet for the night. Devin Booker. 50 plus points, plus 4,000. How poetic would it be? 8 years in the same week from when he scored 70 on the Celtics. If you put up 50 against him tonight, you know what? I'm rooting for this. Well, I want this to hit for him.
For him to get to 50, he's going to have to knock down some threes, which he hasn't been doing the last couple of games. So if he can start getting that going early, I don't think 50 is out of the realm. It's going to take some work, though, because this Celtics defense is arguably the best in the league.
We know Book steps up for big games, but do you? Steven, what is your bet for this primetime matchup?
Well, get your glasses out because this is the...
Okay, can I say something?
This is the Let It Fly parlay. Go ahead.
So when we send our bets, like the notification pops up on the screen, and usually it's like IMG _ 9,752, whatever, because it's just an image. Yours today said screen recording. And I thought to myself, this is going to be fucking crazy. Let's go.
Yes, it is. A lot of three-point shots going up in this game. I got both teams scoring over 110 points. I have Devin Booker over 6.5 assists. Ryan Dunn making 2 or more threes. He's done that in each of the last 5 games. Kevin Durant knocking down 2 or more threes. We've lamented how great of a three-point shooter he's become. Derek White knocking down 2 or more threes. Peyton Pritchard knocking down 2 or more threes. Jaylen Brown knocking down at least 1 3.
Jeez.
Drew Holiday over 1.5 stocks, and Derek White also over 1.5 stocks, all for plus 3,300.
How are your odds lower than Espo's?
I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of like, I kind of expected that to be like, hey, bet $10, win like 700. But you know what? I kind of fall somewhere in the middle. And what a surprise, you boys in the league. This is the Devin Booker parlay. I got Book 30 plus points, Book 6 plus assists and an over, and 1 first quarter rebound. Why do I feel like that pesky
that would be crazy
first quarter rebound?
Honestly, I feel like it's gonna be the 30.
You think it's gonna be the 30?
I think they push him to see how much he wants to be a playmaker, and if he's gonna lean into that the whole game, and if the offense can sustain without him putting the ball in the basket. But
the thing about him is he can do both.
My overarching point about the 3-point shot that hasn't been there for him, he needs that in the worst way against this team in particular because of the ways they switch.
The other Eric in the chat, spelled the right way, by the way, E-R-I-K, says, KD and Book going to have an instant classic tonight. This is where you need your stars, Steven. We talked about the role players. You know, we talked about Ryan Dunn, Nick Richards, Colin Gillespie, Cody Martin, Oso Iguodaro, Royce O'Neal, Tyus Jones. At the end of the day, if you don't get a Big 2 performance from your Big 2, a Western Conference Player of the Week type performance from your Western Conference Player of the Week, you're not winning this game.
Nope, you are not. And for potential first-round matchups, no team plays defense as close to akin as the Celtics, as the Thunder. This is a litmus test in many respects for how Devin Booker and Kevin Durant can operate against a team that plays defense this style of way that they do. So
I just knocked on wood for Felix for that one. I got you, Felix. Don't you worry about it. Any final thoughts? We're going to wrap up just a couple minutes early because, again, we have a live watch-along on this very channel. You know what I'm going to do? Well, you give your final thoughts, Steven. I'm going to be so nice to the people. I'm going to drop our live watch-along link in this chat so they don't even have to do any work. All they have to do.
Mention Spinato's.
Oh, my gosh, and you might win free pizza. We're giving away free pizza. We're giving away free Spinatos. God, I buried the lead. Nobody wants to come watch us. They want the free pizza. Well, what should they be watching? Well, they're also watching us while they're also winning free pizza for tonight's game.
2 things for me, all Suns related. Will they be connected on the defensive end with their switching? Will they continue to stay connected with their communication and all of the efforts that they've compiled the last 4 games that got them on this win streak? And then on the other end of the floor, it's the balance. Obviously, your best shots are going to come when they leave the hands of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. How well do they balance and leverage the gravity that those two have in their spots versus getting those catch-and-shoot opportunities for their teammates? And how well do their teammates play in those advantages? Because the Celtics are not easy to get in rotation, but the Suns have multiple ways to press those buttons that other teams don't.
Do you feel that, Steven?
What's that?
It's a big game on the horizon. We're excited. I know you guys are excited. It's going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, a great game nonetheless. Listen, a win would be awesome. 5 wins in a row is awesome. But the most that you can ask for is that the same Phoenix Suns that have showed up over the last 4 games show up. And if the Celtics are just the better team, you know what? They're just the better team. You still have a lot of room to go prove, scratch, claw your way into that 10th seed. But we all know that we want that win tonight. You can follow along, if you're not watching the watch along, at PHNX_Suns throughout the game. Chat, y'all been wild today. Can I just say that? Rare form from the psychos and the sickos. Emphasis on sickos. Hello? Get that fucking off the screen. What are we doing here? This is a professional program, okay? So for Cutesy Legs, I'm Cutesy Legs' friend. I was going to call you Goober or Booger Boy. Those are like the only 3 nicknames we have. Noah, what do you want your nickname to be?
Noah.
No. You need a way better nickname than that. Way better. Maybe, here's the thing. One time on a watch-along, we gave me all my nicknames. White Noise, Unedited Google Doc, Green Gorilla, Casper the Friendly Ghost. All the we went through all of those on a watch-along. Maybe it's... No, stop. That's crazy. That's so crazy, guys. Maybe we give Noah... Wow. Optical Illusion says Noah is Pimple Butt. Oh, Stinky Feet. Cutesy Legs, Stinky Feet, and White Noise.
No, you're left hand.
Okay, we're all body parts. Left hand, Cutesy Legs, Stinky Feet.
I thought it was Lucky Lefty.
Whoever knows what it is. All I know is we'll be back on that link that I sent in the chat. Also on PHNX Sports Live Watch Along. Be there or be square, and don't be square. Be a circle because we want pizza. That's a transition, and that's the end of this damn pregame show.
We all silly like the mayor.